All right, problem 13 on page 487, chapter 3, 7, 3, 487. All right, so what we're supposed to do here is prove that KLM is similar to KNL. Okay? Make sure I wrote that down right. So, what we got to look at is it proportional?
No.
Okay? And do we have some angles that are the same? Okay? See, we either have, remember, angle, side, or side, side. So, one of those three to prove proportionality. Okay, so KLM, and so I look at KL, and I'm looking at that one, and KN, and I'm looking at that one. So I kind of need to get an understanding of both of these triangles. If I list one as red, KLM, KL, M. That M is the red one. And then K and L is the, so K, N, L, right? So now these have two KLs, right? And they're the same. So they're congruent. But in this problem, we don't care about congruencies. In fact, we don't want congruency if it's a side. If it's an angle, we want it. But if it's a side, it's not going to help us. Because we're looking for similarities. So they should not be congruent. Does that make sense? If they're similar, they're not congruent. Okay? So, well, I shouldn't say that. If they are congruent, they are similar, but their proportion is 1. And so we don't really care. But we were looking for a different proportion other than 1 for this similarity. So we want to use this KLM is really important the way it's written. And this K in L is really important. Are you guys listening?
Yes.
Or just talking?
We're listening and thinking.
Because you can help me just do it if you want.
No.
Because if you guys are talking enough to where you just know it, just go ahead and help me. Alright, then please be quiet and listen. Alright, so we've got, these things have a certain order, and we've got to follow that order. Okay? KL and KN are going to be proportional to each other if these are symmetrical. If they're not symmetrical, then they won't be. Okay? So we know that the first thing we know, or we should know, is that the angles are congruent, right? So the angle K. So how am I looking at this? I have to look at it as KLM. So KLM. So could I say, oops, sorry, angle MKL or LKM? Whichever way I go, I have to kind of look at the direction that this is going. If I'm going LKM, then it's kind of going backwards, right? So I would rather it say go forwards, MKL. Okay? MKL, and follow this thing the way that it's written. That way, when I say that it's congruent to this K, I can say, okay, I started here as an MKL, and I can start here and say LKN. Really important. Okay? Doesn't seem very important. I mean, angle K is angle K. They're congruent. It's pretty simple, right? So I know that this is an angle, and I know through reflexive. Okay? And so this is where we have this part, or this part, one of them, right? And so we either got to find another angle, and we can't find one because these are all different, right? So now we got to find some sides that are proportional, okay? And that's when we start pulling these sides, K and L. So KL is 6, right? So KL needs to be similar to what? So KL is on this side. KL, sorry. The red one. KL needs to be similar to KN, right? So the red KL needs to be similar to the orange KN, right? So that means that this KL, the red KL, is how much? 6? And it needs to be similar to Kn. So Kn is 4. And so by some amount, I need to be able to go from here to here. So what can I multiply? Right? X times 6 should equal 4. If this is proportional, right? Alright? If it's proportional, then we're good to go. So then I solve it. Divide by 6, divide by 6, I get x is equal to 4 over 6, which is equal to 2/3. So my proportionality is 2/3. Now I need to prove it. Does it work on the next one? Okay? Does it work on the next one? It has to work on two sides. So let's think of this. The first side we looked at is KL, right? And this side, right? And so I want to look at the other side of the K, of the angle K, right? Because if it's this, then it's a side angle side. So I have to look at KM. Or MK. Does that make sense? So I have to look at this KM. So the red KM, right, needs to be symmetrical to the orange KL. Okay? So and not only that, is that I need to be able to multiply it by this amount, right? So this 2/3 times Km, which in this case is 9, needs to equal KL, which is 6. So is 2/3 times 9 equal to 6. So 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 equals 6. Yes. Right? So that tells me that these two are symmetrical. Okay? Because they're symmetrical, we know that this is side angle side. Okay? It's a long proof. It's not easy.